I've turned off hillshade. I put contours on so you can see there. It's quite useful contours. Contours is very useful, for example, if you're doing, it is something that is already has to be done in any development application or development assessment. Because when you're designing a property, or you're putting in a plan into the state government or the local government, it requires a surveyor's plan. Now, a surveyor's plan is not going to be 5-meter contours like this. It'll be a lot more detailed than that. But it's very important for fire planning, for any sort of development planning, because contours depends where you can put things, because the local government planning schemes have different layers, and you might have a landslide hazard layer. I'm going to turn the contours off though because it's too busy. Now, I discovered all sorts of really awesome, incredibly fun stuff, which I didn't know were on Queensland Globe. Queensland Globe's just been updated, and they've put like just about everything you could possibly think of. It is like so cool. Sorry, I'm all excited. You can put fuel station locates. Another thing that's very useful in Queensland Globe is, water is extremely useful. So what is very important, you can put water courses. Because when you're doing planning, or when you're assessing developments, or when you're putting in development, you need to not have your development impact on a water course. And there's different types of water courses. You can put water features, rock pool, flat or swamp, and floodlines is that's to do with referable dams. In fact, they've got historical flood information there, but it's not in that section. It's under hazard, I think. Events and incidents. So under events and incidents, this is very, very important. Go into basin level floodplain modelling, and there's the 1% flooding layer, and there's extreme basin flood levels. So this isn't obviously showing much in the way of flooding. You can also put historical flood, or I could zoom into Brisbane, it'll show lots of flooding. Because Brisbane floods quite a lot. The Gold Coast potentially will flood quite a lot, but not for the moment. So if we go into Brisbane, let's just zoom in. Sorry to have to watch me doing all this sort of stuff. If I zoom out, it'll be better. There's Brisbane. We can go into the Brisbane River, which floods an awful lot of times. And if you put historic flood lines, you can put the flood lines from the 2010 flood. Take a bit of time to load because it's quite big. So there's where it flooded in Brisbane in 2010. Now, flooding is very, very important for planning, obviously. So let's just get this off. It's just not telling us a lot of stuff. That's 2012 flooding. I remember that year. It was very, very wet. You've got historic flood imagery as well. And what you can do is you can pop on the flood imagery for all the different areas that flooded. Now it's not showing, but we can pop out to floods in St George, actually I'm not going to do that because then I've got to get off Brisbane. And it's not really relevant. So let's just turn this off in the meantime. So there's a lot of layers. You can tick layers, you can put them back on, and it's really useful. And what I'm going to do in the next thing is I'm going to show you how you can add your own layers.